Hey everybody, welcome to Nights at the Gaming Table Chat, where we are talking about current events in video games, our favorite video games, and just everything around video games. We've got news, we've got rumors, we've got different types of topics that we like to try to tackle each time we do this, which is roughly once a month. We'll see how things go before we decide if we're going to up that cycle. And eventually, I'd like to get on, have a rotating list of guests that can come on and talk with us about games too. So we'll be doing all kinds of cool stuff in the future, hopefully. But to start out, let me introduce you to the folks who are here today chatting with us for this episode. We got my brother, my actual brother, Jeffy Pop. We've got one of my good friends here, Gaston. And I, of course, am Sir Mr. Clean. And this is my channel, and we are streaming all the time here on Twitch for Extra Life, raising money for Children's Hospital. And like it says down here, 50% of all bit subs and donations made to my stream go to Extra Life. You can also donate directly using the links down below in the panels. We've got a lot of cool stuff going on. We play lots of RPGs, lots of fun games. And I'll introduce myself while I'm kind of talking right now anyway. I am married. I've got 3 kids. Been married for 15 years. Been a gamer for over 33 years. We got our first Nintendo Entertainment System back in like 1987, which was like the year right about the year it came out. I've been playing games ever since. Board games, computer games, it's console games, it's all of the above. I've been a software and game developer for over 20 years. I started my career in about late 90s when the dot-com boom happened. Did a lot of web development, moved to app development, and then lately, past 6 years, I've been doing lots of freelance game development as well. Some games that I helped with were games like That Dragon Cancer, a VR game called Untethered, another VR game called Learn Spanish. We did a lot of cool stuff there, mostly mobile games, a couple computer games, and lots of VR stuff. That's kind of where our wheelhouse is right now, is VR. This Extra Life I mentioned, I've been doing Extra Life now for 8 years. This is my 8th year, and I've got a goal to try to raise $10,000 lifetime. So I've got an ambitious goal this year, but hopefully I'll be able to hit it. And I've been streaming on Twitch for over 4 years now too, so got a lot of experience just playing games online and communicating with my awesome community. And hopefully we'll see a bunch of those folks come in here in a little bit. So Jeffy Pop, you're next.
Hey, so I'm Jeffy Pop. I am the real life brother of Mr. Clean. He is older, his beard is longer, but that's to be expected. I was a software developer, and then I joined the dark side. I am now in product management. I've been doing that for about the last year or so. I've been gaming most of my life. As Mike said, we got a Nintendo the late 80s, and then we got a Super Nintendo, and so on and so forth. Most of my time gaming has been spent in MMOs, such as EverQuest and World of Warcraft. I have been streaming on Twitch for just over 3 years, and I've been doing Extra Life for 7 years, 1 year behind my brother. Yeah, and what else? That's probably most of it.
Sounds good. Gaston, welcome.
Uh, Thank you. Swift as Gaston. Sometimes you might see it as Lifts like Gaston. It kind of depends on whether or not I forgot my login or not. Um, been gaming for, I don't know, 20 plus years. Started taking it more seriously probably for the past like 10 to 15 years. That's whenever I started having it as my main hobby. Mostly into playing RPGs, action RPGs, JRPGs, some sports games, mostly baseball sports games. Occasionally, I like to play a basketball sports game, but that's not too often. Been dating my girlfriend for just over 3 years now. Just had our anniversary earlier this month.
Congratulations.
So nice. We also recently bought a house together earlier this year, and we finished up most of the renovations on that this year.
Double congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Other than that, I work in IT for a local government. which is nice because a couple of years ago I was working as a manager for a retail chain, and that was miserable. Yeah, that's all I got.
Right on. Well, welcome, guys. Thank you again for agreeing to do this with me. Let's go ahead, Gaston. Let's go right into what we're playing right now. So I'll just have you just continue talking.
As far as what I'm playing right now, mostly what I'm playing right now is actually Final Fantasy X again. Going through it on Steam. I'm going to be trying to do 100% achievement run on it and on 10.2. It's the HD remastered version. It's got both those compact into one. Also playing Persona 5, trying to platinum it on PS4. I beat it, I think it was a couple weeks ago that I beat it. Now I'm doing New Game Plus to finish up the trophies.
Right on.
Been playing some Xenoblade Chronicles 2 on the Switch, and then whenever I'm not feeling like playing anything too serious, I'll be playing MLB The Show 19.
Right on. I haven't played a baseball game in a very long time.
It's pretty good. I really like the baseball ones. And like I said, occasionally I play the basketball one, the 2K basketball series. I haven't played it in a while because I guess a lot of it has a lot of loot crate, loot box, whatever you want to call it, and like gambling stuff in it for the basketball one now. But like if you like RPGs and you like baseball, MLB The Show is pretty fun because you have your like road to the show, create a character thing where you try to like you start out in like the minor leagues and work your way up. And it's kind of like an RPG because you have stats and everything that you manage and all that. So
Right.
that's kind of fun.
Right on.
Did you play NBA Jam?
I did play NBA Jam. I actually used to play NBA Jam during my high school computer classes. I would bring in a USB flash drive that had an emulator on it, and my friend and I would sit there and use one keyboard to play each other on NBA Jam.
Serendipity, baby. I loved NBA Jam. It's so much fun with that. They
just have
they did like a
redid
re-release, on Xbox, I think.
I don't remember. Did they add like did they just keep the players that they had in the original, or did they update it with like current players with
I can't
LeBron
remember.
James and all that?
I can't remember if they did or not.
Hmm.
I just know they did. The players all did have much larger heads than they did in the original game, I think.
Yeah.
It looked like bobbleheads were playing against each other.
Yeah, I don't think it did too well, so I don't think they'll be doing another one. They should have just stuck with the original formula, where they're kind of realistic looking and you can dunk from half court and all that.
Yeah.
From downtown.
Chevy Pop, what are you playing?
Mostly right now I'm playing Crosscode, which is an old throwback role-playing game. Really cool story, cool character development. It's like a 16-bit graphics. I'm near the end of that, I think. I'm like over 50 hours into it, so definitely a great game to pick up for the time that you can play it.
And it's supposed to be coming out for the Switch soon, I think, too.
Yep. And then I know that I said in my introduction I play a lot of EQ and WoW, but I have since quit those. So now most of the time if I'm not playing like Crosscode, I'm playing Apex Legends or PUBG. Those are probably the top 3 games I'm playing right now. I also just picked up Collection of Mana, which I probably won't get to.
And you pre-ordered Link's Awakening. That's cool. All right, so for me, I am the primary games I'm playing right now on stream are the Dark Souls series, which I just beat Dark Souls 1 last night. Playing the Witcher series, and I'm probably halfway, maybe a little more than halfway through the Witcher 2. Playing Kingdom Hearts, and we just beat Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories last week, and we started up Kingdom Hearts 2. And then I'm hoping, now that I beat Dark Souls 1, that I'm going to start the God of War series. So that'll be pretty fun. And then I didn't want to say this out loud, but I have been playing a little bit of WoW Classic. I don't know why, but I am.
No.
And I also picked up Jurassic World Evolution. and that's been kind of fun, like discovering and building dinosaurs. Um, I've also been playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 on my Switch, and I'll save that for when I do like travel and stuff like that. So in a couple weeks when I go to Ohio, I will be playing more Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Unfortunately, it's the week before Link's Awakening comes out. Otherwise, I'd be all over playing Link's Awakening.
Jurassic World is like one of those like park building games, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like it because you've got some very interesting kind of interactions. Um, like you can create, like, you have rangers and you can dispatch them to go do different things in your park, like take care of dinosaurs or refill like feeders or fix fences or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you can actually take over like third person view of their vehicle and like manually control them and stuff, and so it's kind of interesting. So pretty cool, and the weather effects are amazing. Like there's always crazy storms going on, and it just looks rad.
It's that's from Frontier. That's the same people who did Planet Coaster.
Yep, yep. They do a lot of
That's pretty
those
cool.
Planet. Yeah, the Planet Coaster series is huge for them.
Yep.
They also do Elite Dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they got a lot of pedigree, and Jurassic World looks cool, and they got the voice of Jeff Goldblum, and
Oh,
so
I didn't know that.
yeah, so he actually reprises his role as Ian Malcolm.
Speaking of Jeff Goldblum, kind of a tangent, but did you see the I guess the little trailer that they had for his Disney Plus series?
No, but I heard about it. I didn't see the trailer, but I heard about it.
It looks amazing. He just looks. I mean, it's Jeff Goldblum. He just looks like completely amazed by everything that he is observing in the show.
I'm gonna have to watch that.
Yeah. As
Oh,
much
that's
as I
cool.
hate giving more money to Disney and having another streaming service, I'm definitely getting Disney Plus.
Yeah, there's just too much good content on it. Like
Yeah.
they're bringing everything together.
Oh yeah. Well,
Ugh.
that's why they gobbled up all these IPs so they can have all these things on one platform and
Yep.
pull people away.
So we talked about last time we talked about kind of E3 reactions because we had done this show in July and it was about a month after E3. This time we're doing it after Gamescom and then right before PAX. So let's talk a little bit about just a couple things that came out of Gamescom that were pretty cool. Um, Gaston, why don't you go ahead and start and talk just a little bit about one game in particular, and then anything else you can think of.
Um. So do you want me to go ahead and talk about Greedfall now?
Yeah,
Or do you want me to?
yeah, go for it.
So I'm really excited for Greedfall. This game actually, I'm gonna do a quick Google real quick, but I think it was E3 2017 or something that it originally had a teaser shown for it, and it's kind of been on my radar ever since then. And at Gamescom they showed and some more details for it, and it's from Spiders. And typically Spiders, when it comes to their games, they're great idea, um, mediocre execution at best. But this one, it looks like they actually have had a pretty good budget. They've had a few years to work on it, and it's actually looking really well polished. And they actually showed off a pretty long gameplay. It was like 20 minutes of gameplay of it today. They released on YouTube through, I think it was a IGN today.
Really?
Um, yeah,
I'm watching
and
it right now, actually.
yeah, it's actually looking really good. It's a lot less janky than their previous ones, and it's looking like they're aiming for that kind of old school Bioware RPG where it was you go out in this fantastical setting, with your companions. You build up your relationship with the people in the world, your companions, all that. Level up skills, stats, everything like that. So it looks pretty cool. And actually the thing that originally drew me into this game was that it's got like a fantasy colonial setting, and ever since Fable has been shelved or canceled, whatever they're doing with Fable, there haven't really been any games that kind of fill that kind of niche fantasy setting, I guess.
Is this multiplayer at all?
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah, it looked from what I've seen of it, it looks really cool.
Mhm.
So I'm interested to see how well it's received. I know it's getting a lot of good early buzz. So
Yeah, and especially in the past couple of weeks, as with Gamescom, more media has gotten access to more complete functions and
what's the
just
release
more of the
date?
game. September 11th,
Oh wow, it's coming out
10th. Sorry,
next
September 10th. Yeah.
next Monday, next Tuesday,
Uh,
next Tuesday.
yeah, yeah. A week,
A week from yeah.
yeah. So just over 2 weeks, it's coming out. Which I do have it pre-ordered already, and I have the day off, and I'm going to be playing it.
You're gonna be streaming it
Yes, I'm hoping to be streaming it.
because I want to watch. I want to watch.
And I don't know. For me, it's just it's a game that's hitting just all the right things that I've been looking for in a game for a while. 'Cause, it's a in-depth RPG. It's got a good story. It's going to be handling the politics of colonialism and kind of this whole invading of foreign land. You're going to be able to build relationships with companions, quests, customize armor, customize your character, all these different.
Seems like it's like the best of what BioWare used to do, and what like Bethesda's doing.
Kind of, yeah. And the CEO of the studio, um, she gave an interview. It was either during Gamescom or right after Gamescom. I think it was during Gamescom. And basically, in her interview, she said that's what they're going for. Is they're going for that kind of mix of old school Bioware, with the original Dragon Age, KOTOR, Baldur's Gate, and Bethesda. They're trying to mix those two, and have this RPG where you've got this great story, you've got these interesting characters, and have interesting worlds and all that.
Nice. No, that's cool. I mean, since BioWare went the Anthem route, basically, I don't know a better thing to say other than just they went the Anthem route.
Yeah.
Which I haven't dove back into since they released some of the newest stuff, and I've heard there's so many good things now that are in it that really should have been there at release.
Yeah.
So I'm tempted to go back and take a peek just because I own it. I could go back in and try it out.
Yeah. Well, you got it for free, didn't you?
Yeah, I won a copy on Twitch, like some giveaway.
Yeah. So
It was
I guess
weird,
no harm,
yeah.
no foul.
Yeah, exactly. But that's cool. That's exciting. Anything else
Yep.
specifically at Gamescom?
The only other kind of, I guess, big thing that like really grabbed my attention at Gamescom was Humankind. What's the full title? Oh, it's just Humankind.
Yeah, I think it was just Humankind.
But it's looking like a pretty good competitor for Civilization 6.
Yeah,
And
it was.
sounds kind of funny.
Yeah, it
saying
was pretty cool.
competitor. Yeah, yeah. So it's a 4X game. It might sound kind of silly saying competitor to Civilization 6, even though Civ 6 has been out for like 5 years now. But when you're a 4X game like that, that's kind of your only competitor is Civilization, because that's the big name. But yeah, it's looking like it's pretty good. Graphically, it looks really good. A lot of the kind of early previews that I've seen about it have said that it's looking like it's going to be a pretty big hit. So that looks good. And then the other thing that this wasn't specifically at Gamescom, but PlayStation acquired Insomniac.
That's
officially.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was kind of big. Yeah, it was pretty big news.
Yeah.
I mean, Insomniac comes in. They're already a good developer. They blow everything out of the water with Spider-Man. Make Sony a ton of money. It makes sense, right? It just makes
Yeah.
sense. So now we're
Yeah,
we're basically guaranteed to get a Spider-Man 2, which is awesome.
Yeah, I would think so. Well, yeah, because Sony completely owns it now after the whole
Yeah, exactly.
Disney thing. But I mean, I thought Insomniac was already owned by Sony, because most of their games are Sony.
I think a lot of
exclusive
people
anyway.
did actually.
Yeah,
I
'cause,
heard
mean,
that.
if you think of their biggest games, they're Sony exclusive anyway. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think the only thing that I can remember them doing on Xbox was Sunset Overdrive.
Yep. Yep, and that was a launch title for Xbox One.
Yep.
Cool. So, a couple things that I noticed at Gamescom. Um, First one I want to talk about was the cycle. So, a free what they're calling PvEVP. Apparently, the first of its kind. Um, Although I think there's some elements of this already in Fortnite, but I think they kind of go on it quite a bit more. Player versus environment versus player, which is weird. So I'm not sure how they do it, but they said they announced it and they basically launched it free on um, Epic. So it was very interesting. I downloaded it, but I haven't tried it. I figured I might try it just to see. Hey, can I do better at a PvEVP game than a strictly PvP battle royale game? Probably not, but that was interesting to me at least because it seems like they were just trying to rock the boat a little bit on classic battle royale, which is cool. I think there's room for some more creativity there for sure. Kerbal Space Program 2, I didn't expect that. I know Kerbal Space Program is a pretty huge success. I see tons of people playing it. I've watched plenty of streams of people, building rockets trying to get to the moon, and failing miserably and blowing up Kerbals and all that kind of stuff, which is just nuts. So it's cool that they're doing a sequel to it. I'm excited that franchise is gaining some ground. Also, they announced a release date for Witcher 3 on Switch, which is October 15th. So that's cool for anybody who absolutely loves the game and wants to play it mobile. I think it's great. But if you've never played it before, I would recommend playing it on a different platform that's going to be much more beautiful to look at.
Yeah, it was rough on the Switch.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's down. They're making a lot of concessions on graphic fidelity to get it to work on the Switch. So, if you really want a great experience, I would play it on a PS4 or PC. PC is going to obviously give you the best experience visually, anyway. But I thought that was cool. So I think it's really cool that Switch is getting some of the games that it is getting.
It's pretty impressive the stuff that they're able to port to it.
It is. Like, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, this is basically, it's a souped up cell phone processor.
Mhm.
Like it's like a Tegra processor,
Yeah.
isn't it? So
Yeah, it's a.
it's just
I think
it's just
Tegra.
crazy. It's just crazy that they're able to do what they're able to do, and like the next versions of the Switch are just going to be better and be able to run games better and run even higher graphic fidelity and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
so let me actually, since we're talking about the Switch a little bit, let's actually I'm going to skip ahead a little bit in our notes and let's go down to, let's talk about the Switch Lite and the Switch version 2. The Switch version 2 is already out. Switch Lite comes out September 20th. Let's talk a little bit about that. So Switch Lite can be $200. It's going to have better battery life, mainly because it's got a different processor in it. So it's not necessarily that it's a better battery. It's just a better processor that uses less battery. And they're talking about 30 minutes more on the low and high side. Battery life, I think. Maybe it's more than that. I think it might be an hour and 30 minutes more. It's going to have a better D-pad. The only problem is that it's not technically a Switch. It doesn't go. You can't hook it up to the TV at all. Which I thought if they could have at least left that piece in, that would have been nice. Even if it's just set it on the like set it on your nightstand or whatever, and just plug an HDMI cable in or something. But it's not going to have any of it, so it's going to be handheld only. Do you guys think this is the actual successor to the 3DS? Like, is this the way that Nintendo's going to go handheld from now on?
I think they kind of have to with Pokemon coming to the Switch. Because that was, I mean, when it comes to their handheld systems, I think Pokemon was hands down the best-selling games on there. I don't think anything else even came close to the Pokemon games.
Kind of a system seller, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that and Animal Crossing now. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think those are the two best selling games that they had on 3DS. So, yeah, I think this is definitely their move to handheld. I'm curious though, how long until somebody finds a way to make it work with the TV, because it does still have a USB-C port, and they do
Yeah.
make USB-C to HDMI.
Right.
So
It's just a
somebody's gonna
it's
modify
just a
it.
matter if the internals are processing any of that out through that port.
Yeah, and I would think that it would be easier for them to make a software change to disable that than it would be for them to completely change the hardware in it and disable it. But
That's
then again,
true.
so I'm thinking that eventually somebody will find a way to get around that, and you'll have somebody running a Switch Lite on their TV.
Unless there is some sort of a cost savings to them not including whatever hardware was making that possible in the first place. I don't know as much about hardware as I do software, so I'm
Yeah,
not I'm not sure what that would entail, but
It also doesn't have detachable Joy-Con, so even if you do
Right.
hook it up to the TV,
you still need a controller.
yeah. So I know it doesn't have detachable Joy Cons, but it does have. It's got to have some way to hook up other controllers to it, right?
You know what? I haven't read anything about whether or not you can use other controllers with it. I feel like I remember them saying you still can,
Yeah,
but I'm not sure how that works because it's not intended to be played
like this.
out of your hand. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So,
So
I don't know. It might not even have that ability. But
yeah,
I
so
do know, for example, the 3DS doesn't have, video out, but people have done software solutions to let you stream to your PC on the
yeah,
3DS. So that's something that you could maybe sideload onto it or something and then just stream it to your TV, like stream it to a Chromecast or something like that.
How
yeah.
much?
That's
What's the size comparison? How much smaller is this than the original Switch?
that's what I'm trying to find, and I don't see specs on the size.
Like, because now I'm seeing like I'm thinking like a Game Gear that was like
Yeah.
it's about the right size, right? But it's only portable. You can't hook it up to your TV. Like,
It's like a thin Game Gear because
yeah,
Game Gear was like carrying around a TV.
yeah, it's like a 3-inch block.
Thick.
Let's see. So
I never had one though. I always wanted one, but I never had one.
the Switch Lite has small 5.5-inch screen versus the 6.2-inch, and it's 3.6 by 8.2 inches.
Yeah, so it's definitely smaller. I think it's like an inch.
Let's see.
Try to think. It's probably like a half inch to 3/4 of an inch shorter height wise, and like an inch or inch and a half
Yeah, so the regular Switch is
in length.
6.81 by 4.02.
Yeah, so it's like a half inch.
Yeah,
You
so
said
it's
three.
really not that
You
much.
said like
So
3.5 or something, right?
Not
Yeah,
much
Yeah.
smaller than right.
It's
Yeah,
not.
it's
It's
really
not that much smaller. No.
You might still consider it average size.
Yeah,
Or is-
exactly. The D-pad, I think, is probably the most exciting thing about it, because I really wish that the Switch had a D-pad, a better D-pad, or even like now that a lot of people have one, just a Joy-Con that you could buy that has a good D-pad. Um, that's why, yeah, I'm all about my controller too, Jeff. So
What was the stuff I heard about GameStop? Was that for the Switch version 2 or the Switch Lite?
uh,
Taking Switches and
yeah,
like,
GameStop.
swap them.
Yeah, GameStop was doing it. It was like, were they swapping? They were swapping them out for free if you bought one after like July something. So like it was like within a month of them getting the new ones, they would swap them out for free. But if you bought one ever, they gave you like you could upgrade for like $75 or something. So you bring in your Switch and $75 and you get a new Switch, the version 2 that has the slightly better battery life or whatever.
that might be worth it.
It's like two.
It's-
It's like 2.5 hours more battery
Yeah.
life,
That's
and
like,
then
that's like double.
and like not quite double, but then I watched an entire video where this guy took the two and set them next to each other, the old Switch and the new Switch version 2, um, and the screen is actually 10% brighter, and they actually measured it with light output, and they used like a spectrometer or whatever to like measure the light that was coming out of the screen. They also measured the heat and how hot it was. So it was running 10% cooler, but putting off 10% more warm colors. So they thought it's probably closer to what the developers actually intended the colors to look like. And they did it all with Breath of the Wild. So all the testing they were doing was with Breath of the Wild. But it doesn't run any faster. All the loading, everything else, all of it runs almost exactly the same. So those are the only differences that they've noticed with this new version 2.
It does have a significant increase in battery.
Yeah.
So that might be right. It's 4.5 to 9 hours for the updated version.
And it was like 6.5, something to 6.5.
2.5 to 6, I think, for the original.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, it's a pretty significant.
It's like 3 hours more.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I feel like mine can only go like 3 hours. I don't know where that 2.5
Yeah.
to 6 comes from.
Well, I don't think that's straight. Yeah, that's the high side of that is not straight play.
Yeah.
The low
2.5
side
to
of that,
6.5 hours.
the low half of that is the straight play.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm depending on what I'm playing. If I'm playing Skyrim, I'm lucky to get an hour.
Yeah.
That thing drains battery. I did find the Switch Lite will support the use of external Joy-Cons.
Okay,
It's like
that's
Pro
good.
Controllers type thing.
Yeah.
Not Pro controllers, only Joy-Cons for the Switch Lite.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's weird because it has USB-C. You'd think you'd be able just to plug one in.
Yeah. Let's see. Some tabletop games. These, yeah, will require players to use separate Joy-Con. In addition to other normal Joy-Con, the Switch Lite does not support external controllers otherwise compatible with the. So
Wow.
Switch Lite, it's just Joy-Con.
That is ridiculous. Huh.
Yeah, I'm not getting a Switch Lite. I don't know about you guys.
No.
Only if like somebody gave me one.
Yeah. Especially if I have a Switch already. Now, if I were somebody that definitely 100% was not going to be connecting it to a TV,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe.
I'm laughing at my brother because he said he would only get one if someone gave one to him.
I wouldn't refuse it. Let's just say that. But I wouldn't refuse pretty much anything anybody wants to give me. So
Yeah, I was going to say free stuff is
free
usually the
free
best stuff.
technology is always good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I have something I like to say. The only thing better than pizza is free pizza.
That's a good saying. All right. Anything more about the Switch we want to talk about? I have a cool Switch hat. It's pretty cool.
I'm really enjoying mine. Like, I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I am. So, like, I think Nintendo knocked it out of the park with it.
Yeah. I think when they first came out with the little announcement for it, I was definitely skeptical of it. I was like,
Yeah.
who's the market for this? Like, obviously your handheld market is already owned up by all your 3DSs and everything, and I don't think you're gonna have the pull for, to go toe to toe in a console war, so to speak. But
And they,
yeah,
I mean,
I definitely-
honestly, since the Super Nintendo, or yeah, I'd probably say since the Super Nintendo, maybe the GameCube, they haven't. Like Nintendo's been behind the ball, technology-wise, like pure power, and they've
Absolutely.
never even cared to really catch up. So
yeah, the N64 was the last one where they could kind of go toe to toe. But even toward the end of the N64 versus the end of the life of the
PS1,
original PlayStation, it the PlayStation just blew it out of the water in terms of power. But the N64 still had some really, really amazing.
yeah, and then when the GameCube came out, it really couldn't hold a candle to the PS2.
No, or the Xbox.
That's the one
This is-
system that I've never actually played an Xbox, the original Xbox.
Really,
I've never held the controller.
it has hands down the funkiest controller ever.
What do they what do they call it?
I'm not sure.
Like the general or the sergeant or There's
Let's
some
see.
name for that controller. I forgot. I keep forgetting what it is.
The original Xbox.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Duke. The Duke.
The Duke. Yeah, because
It's called the
it
Duke.
was weird. It was just weird.
Yeah.
Not good.
All right.
The
So
Xbox had some good games.
that's what I've heard. I mean, and I've played. You know, I played Halo 1 and Halo 2, but that was on Xbox 360.
Yep.
Actually, I played Halo 1 on PC because they had a dual release on the Xbox and the PC.
Yeah, and then it never saw.
And then it never went back to PC until the new, isn't it like
Master
the new
Chief
Master
Collection.
Chief Collection is coming out on it? Yeah,
Yep.
for all
Did I,
those PC players.
I just watched the whole Greedfall trailer. That looks pretty dope.
Yeah. I'm really excited about it. I love things that combine kind of like early guns, so like muzzle loaders and that kind of stuff with magic and swords and stuff. It's kind of cool.
I'm bummed. Does it come out on Monday night, the 10th, like at midnight or something, or does it come out
Probably.
Tuesday? Because usually they come out on Tuesday, right?
Usually they come out on Tuesday, but Spiders is a French company, so I don't know if they're releasing it at midnight Tuesday in France, in which case it would release Monday evening for
Yeah.
us.
So it's
Well,
PS4,
either way, I'm gonna be in
Xbox
Ohio.
One, and PC.
I'm gonna be in Ohio, so I leave on the 9th and come back on the 11th. So I'll be in Ohio. So I'll have to try and catch your stream while I'm out there.
You won't have anything else to do because there's nothing to do.
Well, I'm working.
Well, yeah, but outside of work,
Details.
there's nothing to
Well,
do.
hopefully I'll be partying.
Not in Ohio.
Go to a bar and drink. All right, let's talk a little bit about our more serious / sensitive topic. Gamers, are gamers entitled? Video gamers and this kind of entitlement attitude that we've been seeing, or maybe that's not what it is, but it's kind of feels that way. So let's talk about that a little bit. I want one of you guys to start. Who wants to start?
I guess I will.
Okay.
It looks like Jeff wants no part of that, so I guess I'll start. So yeah, I guess the general question is: are gamers entitled? Which I feel like hands down, absolutely yes, they definitely are. I think a big kind of part of this is they're so used to gaming being this kind of subculture where they're the only ones involved in it, and now that it's mainstream and they're not quote unquote getting the games that they like, and they're having to see all these different people involved in it and seeing games go in a direction that they specifically don't like, they're kind of not necessarily lashing out, but like I guess I don't have the correct word for it. They're not really lashing out. They're kind of, I don't know, throwing a bit of a temper tantrum whenever they don't get their way. I mean, a good example is like Apex Legends just came out with, I don't even know what it was about, but it's something to do with loot boxes. Even though it's a completely free game.
Yeah. They introduced a new currency in the game, and it for a skin for a new gun, it costs like $200 in real life.
Ooh.
If you were to convert that to the currency in the game to buy that gun.
That's a lot of cash, but at the same time, you don't have to buy that to enjoy the full game, right?
Right.
Yeah, so it's like they threw this whole big fit about it, and there's this thing that blew up on Reddit where they were just ruthless against these two developers or community manager. I don't remember what they were.
Sorry.
But they were just going after these guys. And whenever the developer finally said, "Hey, don't be assholes," they blow up because it pretty much it was the attitude of, "Hey, I'm allowed to be a jerk to you, but the second you call me out on being a jerk, I'm gonna freak out and kind of go to your manager or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then there's the whole thing with like the Epic Store, which I don't understand that to begin with, but you see people throwing a fit whenever something like what was the latest Metro game? Was that Exodus? I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So when Metro Exodus announced that they wouldn't be releasing on Steam, they would be an Epic Store exclusive. Developers started receiving death threats over that, and it's like it's just a different launcher, guys. You just have to click a different icon on your desktop. But they were so the people who were upset about this were so focused on what they wanted, they didn't stop to think, oh, is it really worth freaking out over this?
Yeah, my problem right now is I have like 3 or 4 different game launchers. I'm like, what game am I playing? All right, launch that up, and it's like for one game.
Yeah.
Like
So-
Origin, I play Apex. Epic, I could play Fortnite. I'm like,
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate for just a second because I know you can with Steam. I'm almost positive you can with Epic. I think when you install the games, you can install a desktop shortcut on your desktop. So like
Yes.
some folks could just like make a game folder and put all the icons for all their games in a folder, and that's what you open instead of the launcher. Although I think there are also a few games and maybe launchers that require that their launcher is open in order to run the game. So I don't know for sure because I just open up my launchers and play. Like I've got Steam, I've got Epic, I've got Bethesda, I've got Origin, I've got Ubisoft, I've got Blizzard. So like to me it doesn't bother because what's nice is a lot of them give a lot of games away for free. So I'm totally cool with it. Epic gives Epic gives games away every week. And
Celeste, right?
yeah, Celeste. And that's a huge. The game is huge.
Yeah.
I've heard it's really hard, so I'll download it and never quit.
So I do agree with what some of the things you're saying. Like I feel there is a weird entitlement, and it's a weird, and it's a odd angle, I think, to be using. Like the fact that I got to click one extra button. When that's the excuse, then I automatically, like, my ears almost turn off, and I'm just like, man, you're just bitching to bitch. Yeah. And the only time that I've heard anything that sounds like, okay, maybe I see your side, is when they talk about like security and things like that. So if there really is an issue with security or data breaches or things like that with a specific launcher or company or whatever, then some of that makes a little bit more sense. And I want to be sensitive to that specific complaint because there have been those things. I think we've been assured that those have been cleaned up and there's been steps taken. But like with any of these things, there's never 100% protection. Just like there isn't 100% protection from your bank. Like stuff's gonna happen. Hackers will always find the vulnerabilities and find ways in as the technology increases. As the security gets better, so does the hacking techniques. Like it's just, you have to just keep up in the game, and you don't really know there's a problem until there's a problem, which is unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. So I think those things, there's a certain level of like forgiveness that I think, and grace, that we kind of have to give developers on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I definitely, when it comes to security, I agree. But I think for me, it comes down to whenever people absolutely refuse to use a launcher simply because it's not
convenient.
Yeah, like to me, that's just some kind of, like, you're just so absorbed in your own world that you don't care. Because, I mean, think about it. I mean, setting aside the terrible work policies that Epic has, as a company working with these developers, particularly indie developers, and Sir Mr. Clean, you can definitely speak on this because I know you've worked as an indie developer. From what I understand, pretty much most of your professional career, if Epic came to you and said, hey, I'm going to give you enough money to where you don't have to worry about the sales on your game because I'm going to cover it so you at least break even, would that not just be like the best thing that you could hear while you're working on a game?
Hands down, I'm sold right there.
Yeah.
Like
And
Like, you can have my game on your launcher because that's amazing.
yeah, so you don't have to worry about that. And that's definitely what comes across these developers' minds when Epic approaches them. And on top of that, Epic only takes 12% of a cut. Steam takes 20% of a cut.
30.
So 30?
Yeah.
Wow. See, so that's
Almost. So they're the same as like Apple and Android. Android and
yeah.
Apple and Steam all take 30%. It's a 30/70 split.
See, I mean that's a good chunk of change to be taken. And I mean that doesn't factor in 30% to Steam, 30% to your publisher, 30%, X amount in taxes, X amount in paying the people that help you on your project. So, I mean, if you've got an additional 18% that's not being taken from the person that is selling your game, I don't see any reason why you can't do that. But the people
Yeah.
who just absolutely refuse to use Epic Store because it's inconvenient or whatever, they're just so self-centered. They don't think about this and think about, okay, if I were in this developer's shoes, would I really want to go with Steam, who's offering me literally nothing other than, hey, I'm going to host your game on my store, or would I want to go with Epic, who's saying, hey, don't worry, we'll make sure you break even, and then after you break even, we're only going to take 88%, or you're going to take 88%, we're only going to take 12.
Yeah. So going back a little bit to maybe some of the specific examples of games that have released recently, to some sort of gamer negativity. Because I know, Gaston, you had listed out a couple that you might want to specifically talk about. We already talked a little
Yeah.
bit about Apex.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they had a fantastic release. Like, I think it was one of the smartest releases I've seen of a
Yeah.
free game in a long time. They came out of the gate swinging. It was aside from, I know, Jeff, you had some disconnection issues, but I mean, overall, I think the experience was pretty positive, from release day to the months following. And only now are they running into some issues. And I know one of the issues they had a couple months ago was that gamers were complaining that they weren't releasing content and updates as much as like Fortnite was, which then you read, Jason Schreier's article about, Fortnite's working conditions, and the reason they're able to get their stuff out so fast is because everybody's overworked. And so you're
Yeah.
like, well, where do you draw the line, and where's the balance between overworking your developers but also satisfying the customers who are expecting content at a faster cadence? Um, there's probably not a great answer there, um, but I think a lot of it falls on gamers being a little more patient with developers, especially on a game they're not paying for.
Yes.
So you had mentioned Fallout 76 and Pokemon as well. I'm
Yeah.
not familiar with any gamer entitlement with Pokemon unless you're specifically talking about a couple of the negative things I've heard about the newest Sword and Shield news and stuff.
Yeah. Um, Fallout 7, man, I forget what it was in Fallout 76 that was happening at the time that made that come about. I think it was something about Bethesda changed the rate at which you earn atoms, and they made it kind of more front loaded to where you earn more atoms, which is the currency that you use to buy like the in-game costumes and stuff, or you can buy atoms with real money.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bethesda changed it so at the beginning of the game you earn those at a faster rate, and then long-term players they don't earn it as quickly. Which, from a business standpoint, obviously that's a smart move by Bethesda because you bring people, new people come in and say, "Oh, I'm getting all these," and then as they play longer, they don't get as much, but they're already invested in the game, so they're less likely to quit. Same thing that you do with mobile games, obviously. You bring people in with a bunch of free stuff, they're invested, then they spend real money.
Right.
Um, and people were saying, well, this is ridiculous. I've been playing for so long. I should get this many atoms. Which, I mean, you paid your $60 and you got your game, and the rest of the game is free. Like they're giving you. They've had what 4 major updates already, and they're gonna have another one by the end of this year, and all of those are free. You don't have to pay another penny to have that. But people still were like, well, I deserve this because I've played for X amount of hours.
Right.
So I think that was it for Fallout. That one wasn't quite as big. That one didn't blow up as much. But Pokemon, yeah, with the newest Sword and Shield, Game Freak announced that they're not going to have the full Pokedex in there, so they're not going to have all of the Pokemon in there. Which,
Right.
I mean, there's close to 1,100 Pokemon, and I can't imagine the man hour take to go in and model each one, animate each one for all the moves that it can use, put in the shiny variant, put in the abilities for it, put in the moves for it. Like, there's just so much work that would go into it. And that was one thing that Game Freak cited for not putting all the Pokemon into the game, was that they, to save development time, they decided they're only going to have certain ones. And on top of that, I can't remember the last time I even cared to catch all 900 something Pokemon or whatever it is, because I don't care.
But you got to catch them all. What's going on?
I don't think that's been used ever since the second generation.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like I don't know. Like that's, for me, that's one thing. It's just like, okay, I get that you want your favorite Pokemon to be in there, but be realistic. If they tried to put every Pokemon in there, it would take them another year and a half to develop this game, and you would just be sitting there complaining about, why isn't this game out? Why isn't this game out?
So in previous Pokemon games, because I don't know. So like let's say in the most recent 3DS Pokemon game, did they have all 900 Pokemon or whatever in the game?
Yes and no. So the way they did it is, you have the Pokemon that you can catch naturally in the game just by walking around and finding them in the game. But then they have that's, I forget the name of the region, but that's your regional Pokedex. Then they have what they call the National Pokedex, and the only way that you could complete the National Pokedex was by having previous games and using their Pokemon Bank, which is their online storage, and transferring from those games to the Pokemon Bank to the Sun and Moon games. So even with those games, unless you had all previous 3DS games, you couldn't get all the Pokemon anyway.
Gotcha.
So it's like, that's another thing that it's like, okay, why are you complaining about this? Because you had to have literally hundreds of dollars invested in the series to begin with to be able to get all the Pokemon.
Right. And for like the 3DS versions of the games, they probably didn't have to remodel them all, because it's the same engine for the whole series of 3DS games that came out.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't have to remodel.
So that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense why it would be so easy to do.
Yeah, and there's a lot of rumors that have been going around about how, well, model it for the Switch version. Look at this, but people have debunked that, but it doesn't matter. People are still saying, well, Game Freak's just lazy. Game Freak's just lazy. But I mean, the company's been doing this for 20 something years now. I don't think they're lazy. I think they realize how much it's worth investing their time versus profits.
I mean, you're not making money on your games if you're not shipping your games. So
right,
you can't be in development forever.
Yeah, and I mean, how long do they want to wait and Switch before they release a game?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. Like, I think Pokemon Let's Go, I think was very well received, but the hardcore players were like, no, we want the next big thing, and so they saw the writing on the wall, and they're like, okay, we got to deliver this. And right now, it's still scheduled to be delivered the end of this year, right? Like November or December or something like that.
Yep, November 18th of this year.
Yeah. So, provided they stick with that, and I've also heard rumors that like they've said it's not out of the question to add more Pokemon later, but not for the release.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, that's the thing is, if it comes out and they see that there's still this demand for people to have all the Pokemon in the game, it's not like it's hard for them to get that and push that out to the game.
Yeah.
So it's, to me, it's one of those things where people are so used to having it their way, and when it doesn't go their way, and even if it has zero effects on the gameplay, and you could argue, oh, my favorite Pokemon isn't, I can't enjoy it as much. Well, too bad. Your favorite Pokemon sucks if it doesn't make the cut. But it's just one of those things where people have been so focused on what they want, they're not able to look at it as far as like big picture and how it actually affects the series as a whole.
Yeah. No, it's definitely been
Another,
interesting to follow all of these stories about kind of like gamer negativity, you know.
yeah, and another thing that we could I don't have this on the list, but my girlfriend just informed me that Telltale is booting back up,
Yep.
and they are bringing back workers as contract workers
Yep.
versus fully benefited workers. So that kind of sucks for them. But to tie it into the whole gamer entitlement thing, if you remember correctly, part of the reason they failed is because they were buying up so many IPs so they could release games faster and faster and faster. But one of the reasons that uh, people kept saying, "Well, we want this from you. We want this from you." So they were saying, "Well, when are you going to get Walking Dead season 2? When are you going to get Walking Dead season 3? When's the next Wolf Among Us?" So it's kind of one of those things where they're trying to appease their audience, but they just ran out of money doing it.
Yeah. No, and I mean the Telltale story is interesting, because it's just two guys that basically bought the name, and they're
Yeah.
gonna and the rights to the IP that they had. Um, so it's not they don't have Walking Dead anymore. So they won't be able to do anything with Walking Dead series. Um, there's another series they don't have either. I can't remember which one it is though.
Um, they don't have. I know they have.
But they have Wolf Among Us. They have
Yeah,
Batman, I think, still.
that's the only two they have.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. I think it's cool that they're gonna offer to hire back folks as contractors, because they specifically said, we're gonna try and get this going again, but we're gonna do it a different way, and hopefully a more sustainable way. So they're gonna try to build it back up slowly.
Yeah,
So basically, they had capital to buy the IP, but not to like start up the whole company again.
yeah,
So I I kind of applaud them for wanting to take it slow. It does kind of suck that like they're not going to be able to get all of their talent back, and not as full time employees. Because I understand how hard it is being a contractor. I've been a contractor for 6 years now, so it's been trying for sure. It's not a glorious life, and definitely one that takes a lot of patience and um, self accountability.
probably stress.
Sometimes when you don't have work, it's definitely stressful. But when you have enough work, it's pretty great.
Yeah, I kind of a tangent, but I am jealous of people that have the courage to do contract work because I feel like I would never have the stones to go out and do that because I like the security of working for having a quote unquote normal job,
Mm-hmm.
so be it, where I know that, if something were to happen, I'm still gonna have a place where I go in, I get a paycheck. So anybody that can do contract work, I absolutely applaud them because there's no way I would ever have the courage to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely a shift. Because like, what I think what's been different with me specifically is like I've ever since I was probably 20, so 2000, I think, is when I got my first kind of like side gig. So while I was working normal projects, I had a client who was like, "Hey, can you just work on something for me that's kind of separate?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not? I'll do a few hours a week, the weekends or nights or something." And then ever since then, I've like always had a side project. So like I've always had my foot halfway out the door, like almost everywhere that I've been, because I've always had that kind of contract. I'm like, you know what? If that blew up, I would totally go do it. Um, it never really did, but I quit my full time job and then had to kind of force it to blow up because I was unemployed for a couple months, and then I only had like half time work for like 6 months, and so I had to. It took me about that long to finally get to the point where I've got like kind of steady work. And then there's been a couple times where I've been like basically unemployed for like a month or something here and there. So yeah, it's definitely scary. It's a roller coaster ride, and we dug ourselves into a bit of a hole, and I'm trying to get us back out of it right now. So, but things are going good at the moment.
That's good. Hopefully, it continues to go
Yeah,
that way.
yeah, me too. The idea is to get gigs that pay more than what you need, so you can bank some time for when you don't have work. So it's managing those, the roller coaster ride.
Yeah. I would imagine that probably potential to earn just straight up cash from a contract job is probably more than non-contract work because the company paying you doesn't have to pay any benefits or anything. So
Yeah.
probably just like, I'm just going to give you more per hour and that'll attract you.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I think we've hit everything we really want to talk about with kind of gamer entitlement. We've got a few minutes left. Let's finish this off with a fun topic, which is our top 3 favorite games of all time, and just a real quick blurb as to why they are your top 3 favorite games. So let's start with Jeffy Pop, because he's been pretty quiet.
Yeah, everything I want to say about Gamers Entitled probably isn't good for the streams.
You want to use 4-letter words?
Yes.
Yeah.
I kind of want to hear it now.
We could do that in the post show.
So yeah, you're saying that you agree that gamers are entitled.
I want to comment on some of the things that you guys were talking about with some 4-letter words about those people off stream or whatever, chat after dark.
Yeah. We'll switch over to your channel to handle that side of it.
Yeah, he lets people say all kinds of stuff on his channel.
Anyways, top 3 favorite games. I have 2 so far. Numero uno for me, favorite game of all time is Chrono Trigger. That was, came out a long time ago when I was younger, but just the gameplay, the replay value, the story, the characters. I used to sit with friends and just watch each other play the game for hours, right? Like me and my brother used to do when we were younger. But like, I'm in like middle school and high school for this game, and I actually got my copy of Chrono Trigger from the Super Nintendo for trading Magic cards for it. So I feel like that was a good investment on my part.
Heck yeah.
Do you still have that copy of Chrono Trigger?
Yep.
That's worth some money now.
I have that and Secret of Mana, Super Mario RPG, Ogre Battle.
Rare games to find nowadays. They're all worth a lot.
Oh yeah, I think Chrono Trigger can get upwards of $300.
So definitely Chrono Trigger. Like I said, I just love playing that game. Eventually, I'll play it on stream. Second game I have up there is Final Fantasy VII, which really my playthroughs of Final Fantasy went 1, 4, 6, and then 7. And I didn't even really play 7 until I was in high school, and then I saw my friend playing it, and I was like, "Holy cow, this game is awesome!" And then I bought it and I played it. I actually got it for Christmas. That's how I got it. But yeah, playing through that game, and then Mike just played through it last year.
Yep.
So that was fun, kind of reliving it through him, and then I really enjoy the games that take a long time to play, that I get my enjoyment and the value for it.
I wish you would stream them more.
Well, I don't really play those games anymore. But,
Yeah, I think you should.
or I haven't recently. That's because all my friends want to play Apex or PUBG. But those are probably my top 2. Final Fantasy VII, going through things that have additional stuff at the end that's not required is always fun too. The bonus quests or side quests, killing Ruby Weapon and Emerald Weapon, getting the Gold Chocobo, not cheating in getting the Gold Chocobo. Just different, all the different stuff at the end of the game, right? Is makes a game really fun for me.
What is your take on the remake? Are you excited for it? Are you hesitant?
I am super excited for it and super bummed because I don't have a PS4.
You will.
So
You'll have one.
It'll be a $300 game for me, but I might have to get it just for that.
Damn straight.
It'd be worth it. If it adds as much as they're saying, it will be worth it.
Yeah.
I am super excited for it. I'm the other reason I'm kind of bummed for it is they're releasing it in 3 segments, right?
At least.
At least, yeah,
And so that's like, so I have to pay what, $60 a game for it?
yeah. So
Probably.
it's $180. So
Plus-
you're looking at a $400 investment for this game.
So yeah, I'll probably do it. I won't be happy.
You probably will once you play it. You'll be like, oh yeah, I'm glad I did this.
Yeah.
It's the only game you'll be buying all year.
So those 2 games, I got a lot of third favorite games. Kind of some of the ones that I mentioned, like Secret of Mana, like a multiplayer role-playing game that was made on the Super Nintendo is like I don't know of any other like good RPGs that are on the Super NES that you can play with other people. But you can have a multi-tap and play 3 people with that.
Yeah.
Kick
pretty
it old
crazy.
school. You have everyone come over to your house, hook up the Super Nintendo, drink beer, and play Secret of Mana.
When I got the Super NES Classic, Greg and I did that. Like that night, we played Secret of Mana for a couple hours, 2-player.
Yeah.
Well, once I got the second character, because that's about 45 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I got a bunch of third favorite games. The Breath of Fire 3 is a freaking amazing game on the PlayStation. I spent hundreds of hours in that.
Right on. Gaston.
Do I have to list them like in order of like what's my favorite and down
No.
the list?
No, you don't have to.
Okay. 'Cause
Just-
I don't think there's any way I could do that. Definitely Oblivion is definitely my favorite Elder Scrolls game. One of my favorite games of all time. I actually got the Xbox 360 specifically for that game. But by the time, so I got the 360, that was the year the 360 launched, and it was supposed to be a launch title, but it got delayed. But by the time that they announced that it was being delayed, my parents had already managed to get me a 360 because it was supposed to be out. Originally, it was on launch. Then they were saying it's going to be out in November, and then they said, "Oh, it's going to be out," and forget when it eventually released. I think it was March sometime. But when that game came out, I was in high school. I would literally go to school, come home, play Oblivion. Go to school, come home, play Oblivion. And that was the first time that I actually stayed up until like 2, 3 in the morning playing a video game. So I lost a lot of sleep thanks to that video game. But I love everything about it. The world is really interesting. The magic system's really interesting. It's got some really great side quests. Side quests are some of the best ones that are in the Elder Scrolls games. So that's definitely in the top 3. Final Fantasy X is also in my top 3. That was the first Final Fantasy game that I played, and probably the game that actually got me into RPGs as a whole. I actually borrowed it from a friend, and played it. And when I first started playing it, I was like, well, this is just, why are they taking turns hitting each other? It doesn't make any sense. But the more I played it, the more I got into it, and the more I started the whole kind of strategy you've got with turn-based RPG, developing characters and the story and everything. And it's hands down definitely my favorite Final Fantasy. And I think that's pretty common. Most people's favorite Final Fantasy is probably their first one.
Yeah.
Close to it. And then the other one to round out my top 3 is a recent game, Persona 5.
I was surprised to see this on your top 3 list because it's so so recent.
It is, and I debated between putting this or... Whew,
Was that thunder?
Yeah.
Jeez.
It is. We are getting a thunderstorm here in Phoenix. That's not something that happens often. But yeah, I couldn't decide between Persona 5 or Witcher 3. I mean, they're both absolutely amazing.
Oh,
games.
and you picked Persona. Interesting.
Yeah, so I ended up picking Persona because I felt like just the whole combination of the game is slightly better than the whole combination of Witcher 3. Witcher 3, to me, probably is better in the fact that it combines the whole series really well and tells a good story. but the combat is just slightly above average on The Witcher, and the setting itself is just kind of generic fantasy, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But Persona 5 has a very unique setting. It's it's modern day Tokyo, and I mean it probably helped that whenever I started playing it, my girlfriend and I had just gotten back from Tokyo.
So you're like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. There's actually I don't want to spoil anything, but you can actually go to some of the areas in Tokyo that we went to while we were there. So it's pretty cool whenever
Right on.
I'm playing the game and I'm like, hey, I've actually been there. The music is hands down some of the I don't. There's something about the music in Persona 5 that I just absolutely like vibe with, and it's probably my favorite video game music that I've ever come across. The battle systems are really cool. All the animations are great. The story's kind of, I don't know, I guess generic JRPG sort of story. It's got some interesting stuff in it, but it's nothing that's going to blow you out of the water. But it's a good story. But just I don't know, everything combined together for Persona 5 just really makes a lasting impression, I feel like. And whenever you go to play it, you're gonna love
I'm excited, man. It's already in the list.
it. Yep, and I'm excited for Persona 5R. It's a shame I don't speak Japanese or read it because that's out later this year in Japan, and then spring of 2020 for the English release. But I was debating whether or not I wanted to get it, but it's looking like they're adding a lot to this version of the game, and they've actually said that they're doing a couple of different endings on this game. So I'm definitely picking that up day one, and I'm going to do everything I can to avoid any kind of spoilers for it between the Japan release and the US release.
Right on.
Is that a PS4 exclusive? Did you say?
Yeah, it is. Yes.
One reason to get a PS4.
Yeah, when you get a PS4, definitely pick up Persona 5. You'll love it, especially if you like games that you sink a lot of time into. It took me 180 hours to beat it.
Dang, dude.
Okay.
Dang. Dragon Quest XI is another one that's like a really long, big time investment.
Yeah.
Did you pick that? Did you pick that up on Steam on PC, Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say.
You know what I didn't have on my list was Octopath Traveler.
As one of oh, is that a top
sad.
3 favorite?
I don't know, maybe not top 3, but it's up there.
Okay, cool. So I'll dive into mine. So I'm gonna start. I actually did mine kind of in order, I think. I don't know. My number one is definitely Final Fantasy IV. It wasn't the first Final Fantasy I played. It was the second Final Fantasy I played because it was released as Final Fantasy II in America. But this was probably the first game that had such an engaging story and such a buildup of characters. I had never seen something like this in a video game before. And I know like a lot of times this is what people say about 7 as well. But you got to think there's 6 Final Fantasy games that came before 7 that they built off before they built 7, which is still a great game. I love 7. It's probably in my top 5 of Final Fantasy games. Before just has always vibe with me. Every time I sit down to play it, I enjoy it. I have a blast. I play through the whole thing. I love building up the characters. I like to get all the secrets. I like to do everything. That's actually the one game that I feel like I would have a lot of fun speedrunning, like learning how to speedrun the game, and learn some of the tricks. And I think I would have a lot of fun with that. I would say the next game that is probably one of my favorites is got to be Fallout 3. This game is kind of what got me back into gaming pretty hardcore in the like around 2005 2006. I hadn't gamed a whole lot between probably 2000 and 2005. I didn't do a lot of gaming then. It was right when I was starting to date my wife, and we got married, and our bought a house, and like our lives were just, I got a new job, like our lives were just starting to get super busy and everything. So I hadn't had a lot of time for gaming. Then we got I picked up a 360 on Craigslist, and picked up Fallout 3 used, and I had heard it was pretty cool, and I liked the prospect. I liked the idea of it. Like I was like, oh, it's the guys that did Morrowind, because I hadn't played really any Elder Scrolls except Morrowind a little bit. I didn't play very much, but this was like some crazy post-apocalyptic world, like alternate history to alternate future type of game, and I did absolutely almost everything you can do in that game. I played all the DLC. I sunk 150 hours into it pretty much. I got to the point where my Wastelander was like loaded. It was just, I had so much fun with it, and then I decided, okay, I'm back into video games again. I'm back into RPGs. I want to. What's next? And then I picked up Skyrim, and then I picked up the newest Final Fantasy 13, and then I picked up whatever was next on my list. So that I consider it one of my favorite games because I sunk so much time into it. Like straight, like it was literally the only game I played for probably 150 hours, and then it got me kind of back into gaming again. The other one I would say is near and dear to my heart is Legend of Zelda. It's the first adventure game I ever played. Back when we originally got our NES in like '87, it was probably the second video game I ever played after Mario Brothers. I loved the idea of this open world that you can go wherever you want to. You had to get certain items to unlock other areas and do specific things to get other places. Just the whole idea of what Zelda is and what it's become over the years started with this game, and it's by far probably one of my favorite games to just go and play because I can beat it in under 3 hours now. So I can just sit down and just play it for an afternoon and just beat it, and still get everything. Like I still 100% the game. So I think that has kind of molded me throughout the years as to what I like about games. I can trace a lot of games that I've played all the way back to the original Legend of Zelda, and that's why I like the games that I like. It's because of the adventure that game took me on back when I was 7 or 8 years old. So those are my three.
You was it the original?
Your mic shut off.
Oh, nope, working out.
Yeah, I think it was the noise gate. Like you were talking, but it wasn't quite loud enough to trigger the mic to be on.
Okay, I was probably too far back. But the original, was that the one that you beat on your birthday stream this year?
I played through the whole thing on the Extra Life stream last year.
That was it. That's it.
Yeah, I did my first ever speed run, and I tried to beat it as fast as I could, getting every item and every heart container.
Yeah, I remember catching quite a bit of that.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna make that a yearly thing. I'm gonna try to beat my time every year. So.
What was fun about Zelda and Final Fantasy IV is like we made our own strategy guides.
Yeah, we did.
Like, I remember our uncle like had a map of some of the dungeons for Zelda, right?
Yep.
And then like
my original memorization of the 9th level of what's it called? It's not Skull Rock, Death Mountain. So my original memory of Death Mountain is memorizing the map that he made of it, like exactly where to go, because it is still the most confusing one if you don't know where to go. But yeah, go on about Final Fantasy IV.
I was just gonna say that in 4 we would like fight bosses and we would like actually calculate the damage you were doing to see how close you were to killing it, like because last time you did it you failed, so it was us nerding out. Like,
yeah, I remember you would sit there with a calculator,
I think it was,
and like I'd be playing, and you'd be like typing in the numbers of what damage I was doing, and yeah.
It was like Kaiser. Was that the water elemental that had like 2 phases?
Well, I don't remember what his original name was, but he was like Kanazo now.
Yeah.
Can Yeah, Kanazo is his name. I think. No, I think that's still his name. Kanazo.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool though. So you guys did that. Now you just Google everything and there
Yeah.
you go.
It took up the internet took the fun out of all of it.
It really did.
But like, so for example, one of the things that I've been trying to do, um, speaking of like internet taking the fun out of stuff, right? So I was playing Dark Souls, and I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it almost as blind as I could, because I wanted to figure out how to beat the bosses and all that kind of stuff. I only ended up looking up a couple things, but most of it was just when I would ask like chat for help, and Praising was the one who knew. He knows the most about those games, so he was like, "Yeah, this is you got to try this type of thing." And like, see, to me that made it feel like it's kind of how it used to be, how you'd be like sitting there playing and your friend was watching you and you would ask your friend, okay, how do I do this? Like, I think that's something that Twitch can give us. That's what these streaming platforms can give us that was missing for a long time, at least in my gaming life. Like when I played through Fallout 3, like it was just me in my basement playing Fallout 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just so much more fun, even though Jeff probably remembers me playing the games and him watching all the time. But like that was, for me, that was very fun because I just enjoyed sharing the experience with other people. Because like even when I went over to my friend's house, like I would watch Shaler play, and he would watch me play, and his little brother would watch us play, and so like that was just a common thing back in the 90s, late 80s and 90s.
Yeah, and now like you say, you don't really get that, but I guess Twitch, like you said, definitely can provide that. But for Fallout 3, I was kind of the same way. It was just me chilling in my room playing by myself. And by the way, that was when I was in high school. I was still in high school when that came out.
Yeah, it's like 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which my parents, where we live, you can't get internet. Straight up, you can't. So I couldn't look anything up. So that was kind of cool. And what I would actually do is I would play it, and the next day at school, I would go and talk to my best friend and be like, "Hey, this is what I did in Fallout 3 last night. Have you done this?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, you gotta do this." Or he would say, "No, I haven't done that, but I was doing this quest. Have you done this quest?" And it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely something that you kind of lose with the proliferation of guides available online.
Yeah, that was something that I loved about Fallout 3 too, was that it was one of the first games I think that I played that was so open. Like you can go, if you could get there, if you could manage to get past the enemies, like you could just do it.
Yeah.
And like even with like Breath of the Wild, that was another just incredible experience because you could just go anywhere, and there were so many different ways that you could defeat a group of enemies or defeat a puzzle in a shrine or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I played the majority of my early game in that was bombing everything. Like I would climb up hills and I would drop bombs on things below, kill them all, loot everything, move on. Like that was kind of my play style for probably 40 hours before I had enough good gear that I could take some of these things on like head on and not feel too threatened by them. So yeah, I totally love that too. Alrighty, well, any last words from anybody for this week or this month's episode before we close up?
We ran kind of late.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
About 20 minutes longer than I was hoping. But that's okay. We had a good conversation.
Yeah, and we still have to listen to Jeff's rant and the post talk.
Oh yeah.
Hey Alice, how's it going? Good to see you. All right, guys. So that was it for our August episode of Knights of the Gaming Table Chat. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Thank you to my guests, Jeffy Pop and Swift as Gaston, for being here and sharing in the conversation. We'll try to do another episode in late September or maybe early October, depending on how time kind of works out for us.
I have an idea for that.
And we'll have some new concepts, I'm sure, to talk about.
Yeah, but I have an idea for that. Actually, you know what? I'll talk to you Discord about that the next show.
Sounds good. I look forward to it. Thank you, guys. That's it from us. Take care. Have a good rest of your night. And for those of you who are regulars of my channel, I will be on the Extra Life for Kids channel tomorrow night playing some more Kingdom Hearts. And then this weekend, kind of hoping to maybe start God of War. So we'll see. And also try to finish up Witcher 2. So that's going to be our priority is we'll start God of War and try to finish Witcher 2 before starting any other games. All right. Good night, guys.